The sky is a one-way mirror. We're looking at our own reflection, but they are looking at us. A 2nd century Gnostic master mapped the entire prison architecture above us, and what he found makes the Matrix look like a children's story. Oh yeah, and if you're interested in learning more about Gnosticism and other mystery traditions like Rosicrucianism, Kabbalah, or Hermeticism, make sure to click the link in my bio and request some information, because the doors to the inner sanctum are opening for a limited time very soon. So if you're interested, click the link. And now that you're excited, let's talk about who's behind all this. His name is Basilides, and he was a Gnostic teacher operating in Alexandria, Egypt around 120 AD. He claimed to have received secret teachings directly from the Apostle Peter's interpreter. What he taught was so threatening to early Christianity that the Church Fathers dedicated entire volumes just to refuting him. He taught that reality isn't one creation, it's actually 365 nested heavens, each one a layer of the cosmic architecture, and each one ruled by its own angelic power called an archon, and we live at the very bottom. Wait, did you just say 365 heavens? That's right, each heaven is a discrete reality, its own atmosphere, its own rulers, and its own vibrational frequency. Think of them less like floors in a building and more like nested shells, where each one contains everything below it, and each one is invisible to the layer beneath. The number 365 was deeply intentional too. It mirrored the solar year, encoding the radical idea that time itself is an architectural feature of the prison. The calendar that you live by, the cycle of days that structures your entire existence, was built into the cage by the beings who constructed it. You're literally marking time on a clock that your captors installed. Now, Basilides taught that each heaven was populated by its own hierarchy of angels and powers, 365 distinct angelic nations, each one sovereign within its layer, and each one completely unaware of what exists above its own ceiling. The ignorance wasn't just at the bottom, it was structural, built into every single level. Okay, so we're at the bottom. Are we trapped here? Can we move up? Now, this is where Basilides gets extraordinarily specific and extraordinarily dangerous to institutional religion at the same time. Each archon governing a heaven demands a toll. Not gold, not a sacrifice, but a name. A specific secret name, what Basilides called a mystery word, that corresponds to the layer's ruling power. These weren't metaphors, they were understood as literal vibrational keys, sonic codes that, when known and spoken correctly, compelled the archon to step aside and allow the soul to pass upward. The soul ascending through the heavens after death was essentially navigating a cosmic checkpoint system. At each gate, the archon tests the soul. Do you carry the knowledge of this layer? Do you know my name? Do you know your own origin? A soul saturated in gnosis carries these passwords encoded in its very nature. It doesn't fight the archons, it simply renders them powerless by knowing what they are. A soul without gnosis gets turned back, reprocessed, and returned to the bottom floor. Reincarnated, the cycle then continues until the knowing is complete. Okay, fair enough, but what's all this demiurge talk? Well, at the very bottom sits the being that Basilides called the Great Archon, the ruler of our material world. He constructed physical existence genuinely believing himself to be the supreme god. He has no knowledge of the 364 heavens above him. He issues commandments, demands worship, and governs with total confidence from a position of total ignorance. Sound familiar? A powerful administrator who thinks he's at the top, managing a population who doesn't know there's anything above him either. Basilides identified this as being the God of the Old Testament. Not a demon, not evil in a simple sense, but cosmically mistaken in such a way that made his mistake our inheritance. His confusion became our cage. So why is this the first time I'm hearing about this? Well, the early church wasn't just theologically opposed to Basilides, they were institutionally threatened by him. Because if he was right, salvation through church sacraments becomes irrelevant. Priests become obsolete. The entire power structure, built on being the exclusive intermediary between humanity and God, would collapse immediately. So they called it heresy. They burned his text. They wrote lengthy refutations that ironically preserve fragments of his teaching by quoting it in order to condemn it. Most of what we know now about Basilides survives only because his enemies couldn't stop talking about how dangerous he was. That alone should tell you something. And not only that, but Basilides and his followers largely accepted the Jesus stories told in the canonical Gospels. So at the end of the day, Basilides wasn't writing mythology. He was delivering a technical manual on the architecture of your imprisonment and the precise mechanics of your liberation. You are a pneumatic soul, a fragment of infinite light, currently navigating the basement level of a 365-layer structure, administered by powers who depend on your ignorance to maintain their authority. The passwords exist, the gates exist, and somewhere inside you, beneath every layer of conditioning you've been handed since birth, the knowledge of how to pass through them exists too. The question isn't whether you believe it, the question is why it resonates so deeply the moment that you hear it. So if you like what you hear, make sure to like the video, follow for more deep dives like this, click the link in my bio if you want some more information, and let me know what you think in the comments below. See you guys next time.